3 start.
स्टार्ट है, यहाँ पे चालू नहीं हुआ. Okay, let's wait for 2 minutes so that others also can join, and then we will start. I can see only one person has joined yet. Okay, so let's start. So hey guys, this is Ashank David, and in today's video, in today's live session, we are going to talk about C++. So this is going to be our first live session with me, and we are going to talk about C++. So basically in this tutorial, we are going to start from scratch about C++, and we will see a lot of things, what all things are necessary for you to learn in C++. Everything will be taught in this live session with me. So without any further ado, let's begin with this live session, guys. Okay, so I can read your comments here. Before I just start, let me just tell you, I can read your comments also here, and we will be doing a lot of things. So if you have any doubts related to this particular session, you can ask me there. I can see your chats. We will start now. Okay, so we'll talk about C++. First, we need to understand what exactly is C++. We are very familiar with this word called as C++ in programming, in terms of programming, in terms of coding. Basically, you say whatever you would like to say. C++ is a language which is an extension of C programming. So first of all, we need to understand what was C programming. So C programming was one of the first high level programming languages which we have known already from past many years, and the C++ programming language which we see here is an extension of that particular language, C programming language. Yeah, so प्लीज़ थोड़ा हिंदी में भी बोलिए. ओके ओके ओके, आई विल बी, मैं थोड़ा सा हिंदी में भी बोलता जाऊंगा धीरे धीरे बीच बीच में, तो आप लोगों को समझ में भी आता जाएगा. तो जो C++ इज़ लैंग्वेज विच इज़ एन एक्सटेंशन ऑफ C. सो जो C++ लैंग्वेज है वो C की एक्सटेंशन में आती है, एंड जो हमारा जो यहाँ पे प्लस प्लस है, द प्लस प्लस दैट यू सी हियर is here it means that it has some extra features which are not there in C programming. So some extra features which are there. Now extra features like object oriented programming. So object oriented programming is something which is new in C++, and we are going to talk about that as well. Okay, so first understand what is this language, how it got developed. So first appeared in 1985. C++ was developed by a person called as Jarne Straub. So here this person, Jarne Straub, this is the name of the person who developed C++, and C++ first appeared in 1985. Well, this was a language which was an extension of C programming, and here we saw object oriented programming for the first time. In today's world we call it as OOPS programming or object oriented programming. Object oriented programming is a very popular subject which is taught in engineering and in computer science fields, in related to every computer science field. Object oriented programming is something which is very important for us to know. And in this course, we will be focusing on object oriented programming as well, as soon as we start learning more and more concepts in C++. Well, let's now start with C++. Let's understand about our first program in C++. As we already know that C++ is a programming language, and it was developed by Jarne Straub. It includes object oriented programming, and here we are going to talk about all of that. So let's start now. So I'm gonna move this a little bit up and let's start. Let's start by how would you first write your first program in C++. Usually, how would you actually start writing a program? We just start writing a C program. If you talk about C program, how would you start writing? You would start writing by the first line that you usually write is hash include. Okay, hash include, and here you say stdio.h. This is in C programming, guys. We are doing C++. This is C programming which I have written here. This is C programming line. The first line is what you call as hash include stdio.h. Now in this, rather than, if you want to write the code in C++, what you do is, rather than writing this stdio.h, you say IO stream. The first thing. Number one point, guys, I want to tell you one thing, that if you want to, if you have a little bit of basic knowledge also about C programming, you can easily convert any C program into a C++ program till it is procedural programming. Let me just explain you. When it comes to object oriented programming, I will tell you about the differences between procedural and object oriented. Today, because we are just starting, so I'll just want to brief up the things here, and I just want all the students in my class to know about all the concepts first. So from the next class onwards, when we will go on another next live session, I will be properly following our syllabus, the content which I will be giving you guys very soon, and we will be learning all the concepts from that. But before we go ahead into that, here the very first thing is, in C programming you used to write stdio.h. Here we write IO stream. Okay, we write IO stream. We don't write .h here. There is a difference between stdio.h and IO stream. So basically stdio.h is a header file. What it is a header file. So if I write here stdio.h, what is it? It is a header file. Okay, how I got to know it's a header file? You see this .h. This .h is an extension. Just like how you have, you might have seen, no, when you create a file in your computer, let's say for example you created a Word document file. That Word document file will have a file extension as .docx, right? If it is an image or if it is a picture, you might say .jpeg, right? If you have a Acrobat Reader file, you usually say it as .pdf. You say you say .pdf, right? If it is a PowerPoint presentation, you say .pptx, right? Similarly, this .h is the file extension for which file? stdio file. Here std stands for standard. IO stands for input and output. Okay, so here we are talking about stdio, means standard input and output. But in C++, we call it as IO stream. Now understand what is the difference here. Here IO again means input and output. Okay, here stream. Now what is this stream? Now let me just explain you the difference here. The difference is that in C++ everything is converted into a stream. Stream of what? Stream of bytes. We call it as stream of bytes. Stream of bytes. Okay, so now what is this stream of bytes? See, C++ language is a little bit faster than C programming, much more faster than C programming. How? Because of the stream concept only here. Here IO stream stands for input output stream. Here stream is what? Say for example, if I want to explain you an example, let's take an example here. What is a stream? stream. Stream is, for example, there are 2 points, A point and B point. Okay, A point and B point. So if I connect a, flowing river, there is a flowing river in between. Okay, stream is what? It's a river. In real life, stream of water we say, right? A river. Okay, so if I say this stream of byte is not a stream of water, but it's a stream of bytes. So basically stream is connected from point A to B, but this is not water. This is what? It's a stream of bytes, where the connection is already made. When we say input stream, the connection of byte stream is made from your input device to your processor. Okay, and when it is output stream is a stream of byte flowing from the processor to your output device. Are you getting my point, what I am trying to say here? Here stream of bytes is the byte in which 2 flowing rivers are there and 2 bytes are there, two streams are there. One is the input stream, another is the output stream. Input stream is flowing from the input device to the processor, and the output stream is the stream of bytes flowing from your output to the your processor to the output. Okay, so this is something which happens in C++. This is the concept which is carried in terms of C++ only. But this doesn't happen in C programming, because here in C programming we have this. We have our stdio.h. Here, rather than a stream of bytes, we have a file which is included in the beginning only. Are you getting my point? So in C programming, everything is a file which is either included or programmed with. But in C++, programming, everything is a stream. I hope so. Are you getting my point, everyone? Okay, let's talk about the comments. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask me directly in the comment section related to this. Later on, I'll read all the other comments also, and I'll reply to you at the end of the stream, because there are very less people here joined us. So I'll just see to the other comments which are not related to this stream right now. I'll see those comments and I'll reply to you back at the end of the session. As soon as I finish up this concept, today's session will be a little bit small. I will be just briefing you guys about how the things work in C++, and from the next session onwards, I'll go into more in depth and will cover most of the concepts there. Okay, as of now, let's understand the difference here first for C and C++. Okay, so as I told you, C programming, we have file, but in C++ we use streams. Stream of what? Stream of bytes. And that stream of byte is something which makes C++ much more faster than C programming. Okay, so this is the difference here, the basic difference between the streams and the files in between C and C++. Okay, now let's understand. We'll carry forward. Okay, this is the first thing that you write. Okay, now let us move on. After writing your first line, what do you write? The next thing which you write here is using namespace std. Okay, what is exactly is this? Using namespace std. So see, using namespace std, you need to understand what is this namespace is. Okay, let's understand about this. So namespaces, what is namespace? In C++, Achha, you understand it from like this. Just now I told you, right, that in C programming we use stdio.h, but in C++ we use iostream. Now you see one thing here, observe one thing here, take IO from here, from iostream, and take std from here. Okay, in C programming what you say, stdio, right? In C programming what do you say? You say stdio, right? So we say stdio. In C programming, this std and io both are written at once, but in C++ the same thing is written differently. First we write hash include, we say io stream, and then we say using namespace std. So you see io is different and std is different here, correct? So you see here, rather than just making as one file and including it as a standard input output, we make input output stream differently and the standardization differently. Here what is this standardization? For that you need to understand what are namespaces. So basically namespaces is a group of all the directives, you can say. It defines the scope of the directives and identifiers, everything in programming. So you need to understand what is identifiers and what is directives here. So see, understand it like this. See, everything what you write in programming, everything which you write in programming will have a scope. So what is the scope? Scope in the sense, if I want to explain you about the scope, say for example, some variable, basic variable you understand, I'll explain you much in a much more deeper way later on. In this case, let's understand it by, let's say something is written, say for example, something is written inside this box. We are talking about the scope of this item here, okay. The scope of this item is, if it is inside this box, this is its local scope, okay. This is its local scope. This red shaded part which you see is local scope, but this green shaded part what you see outside the box is what? It's a global scope. This green part is global, this red part is local, okay. So we are talking about the scope of what? Scope of this item which we have pointed here, okay. So namespaces, what is this namespace? Namespace contains, or namespaces will contain all the scopes of a particular item in programming. So later on I'll explain you in a much more deeper way when we will come to that point, that you will understand it in that way. But as of now, you just remember one thing, that this line is very important to write in C++. Without this, many things will not work. Well, this line is totally optional though. If you want, you can skip this line, but it is important for us. This is right now optional. Without using this namespace std also you can run the program, and with using namespace std also you can run the program. I will tell you how. But remember this, if someone asks you what is namespaces, you will see why do we write this line using namespace std, you will say to avoid, we say to avoid name clashing or name collisions. Let's say we say name collision in programming. Now you need to understand what is name collision. Okay, so when there are two similar name items in programs, when there are two similar name items in the programs, you will see that they will collide with each other in terms of programs. What happens is, when you create two same name variables or same name items inside your program, if they are in the same scope, let's say one more item is there here, and if they are in the same scope, they will collide with each other. So to avoid this type of collisions, we using namespace std as of for now. Are you getting my point, what I'm trying to say? Later on when we will go progress in a more advanced concepts here, we will understand about this line in a much more easier way. As of now, in beginning, you might not understand it too clearly, right, as of now. But slowly we'll be able to grab it. Okay. And then after all this, what do we say? We say main. In C++, we say int main. Now what is this int main? Int main is what? It's a function. Now remember this one thing, guys. In C programming or in C++ programming or in Python programming or in any programming, it is Java or Python or C or C++, if anything contains this open and close parenthesis, then it is called as function. What it is called as? It is called as function. What is this function? Function is also another concept now. Just remember one thing. A block of code is what you call as a function. Say for example, this is your program. Now inside this program, we will create different parts. We will divide our program into different parts. And every single part which we are going to call them as parts, those parts will be called as functions in programming. What we will call them as? We will call them as functions in programming. Okay. So for example, I have written some code and this code is now divided into 3 parts. So this is first function, this is second function, this is third function. Here main is also a function. Main is also a block of code in programming. But we need to understand why do we write this main. Main is the place where we write all our program. The body of the program is written inside the main function only. So what does this main function do? Main function, what it does is, main function marks, what it does it marks the execution point in program. Okay, it marks the execution point in the program. Okay, so that is what your main function does. Let us more discuss about this later on when we are actually executing our code, and there we will understand this much better. Okay, finally, if we compile everything which we have learned till now, everything we have discussed about in this lecture, if we compile everything, then we can form this program. Let us write that program once. We will start by writing hash include, we say IO stream, we say using namespace std, and then we say int main, and here we will say this is the body of the program. Okay, now if I want to print hello world, usually in C programming what do we use? We use printf, right? Rather than using printf, in C++ we say cout. Okay, cout, and here we'll give this insertion operator, and then here I will give a string hello world. Okay, and later on we will say return 0. Well, this is your first ever program in C++. Let's go, we'll do one thing, we'll execute this program and we'll understand this line by line, and then we will conclude today's class. We'll understand it here in VS Code first. Let's go into VS Code and let's start by writing the code live. Okay, so we are using, by the way, we are using VS Code, and if you are not knowing what is VS Code, basically VS Code is what? It's an IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. For those people who don't know what is Integrated Development Environment, let me just explain you one thing, that this is a software. This is a what? It's a software where you write all your programs. Okay, where you write all your programs. So this is your software, Visual Studio Code we call it as, and we write all our programs and we will execute our programs here. Okay, let's start our first C++ program. Okay, so let's start by writing hash include. I'm gonna just increase the font size here a little bit. I'll say hash include. I'm gonna say here IO stream, and here I'm gonna say using namespace std, and I'll say here int main, and inside this int main I will say cout, and I'll say here hello world. Okay, and I'll say here return 0. This is our first program in C++. Now to run this, I'll just click onto this run button. With this, it will print hello world. This is our first C++ program, guys, where we just learnt about IO stream. I just explained you about IO stream. I explained you about using namespace std. We created our main function here. We wrote our print statement, that is cout hello world and return 0. Okay, let us understand about each and every line here. I've already explained this to you. Let us summarize of what we have learned today in today's session. Okay, first I have told you the difference here between C and C++, where I have explained you that in C programming we write here hash include stdio.h, but here in C++ we say IO stream. So we have written here IO stream. Then we write using namespace std. Now here I told you that in C programming we write stdio.h, which is combination of std also and IO also, basically. Okay, so in this case IO is written separately and std is written separately in C++. So this is that. Now in the next class, which we will have in the next week, I will explain you about that in more depth. We will go into more depth of the concept here and we will learn about all of those things. Then we will create our main function. I told you why do we create our main function, what is the use of the main function. Main function is used to mark the point of execution in the program. So here main function is the function which points the execution point. This is a block of code. I told you what is a function, it's a block of code. Anything in programming which contains these parentheses open and close are what you call as blocks of code, and inside this block of code we write all our program. Why we write the program here inside our main function? Because this is the place where when you run the program, this is the place which gets executed first, and this is the only place which gets executed mainly. And because of that reason only we write our main function, and inside our main function we write all the executable line, and in the executable line was hello world, printf hello world. Rather than writing printf, we say cout and insertion operator. This is insertion operator. Now one thing I told you, right, that without using stdio.h also, using namespace std also, you can run the program. Right now I am running the program with the help of this, but let's say you want to remove this off. When I remove this off, you see what happens, that this cout starts giving us an error. Okay, why this is happening? Because now the name is getting collided. There are multiple versions of couts, okay, which are getting collided, and because of in the same scope they are getting collided with each other. So to avoid this problem, if you don't want to using namespace std, but you want to still run cout, then what you do is you make the cout standardized manually by writing std then colon and then cout like this. So when you write here std cout, then the scope of that cout gets resolved. Well, this colon operator that you see here, 2 times colon, which I have written here, is what you call as scope resolution operator. Scope resolution operator is an operator which is used to resolve the scope of a particular command or a function, or maybe a class, or basically anything in this case. So we are resolving the scope of this cout, telling that it's standardized. and using the standard scope we are running this program. So now even without this I can just run it and I can work with it. So this, see, still our program works. Well, this is how you work with it. I hope so that you have understood today's session. Today's session was a very small session, but I just wanted to start and just wanted to explain you a little bit of difference between C and C++ and the things related to that. Okay guys, well, I hope so that you have understood today's session very well. If not, tell me in the comment section below. I'll now clear all your other doubts also. Let's see if you have any doubts. I don't think so. Okay, no doubts related to the concept which we have studied, but if you have any, you tell me in the comment section. Later on we'll post this live session also, so from there you can tell us and I'll try to clear your doubts also from there. Well, that's all for this live session guys. Thank you for joining, and this is Ashank David signing off. I hope so that you have liked today's session. Well, that's it from my side. I will see you in the next live session. Now, before we start with that next live session, we will announce that before 1 or 2 days only, and you guys can join ours. So today's session was the very first session that we came live into our channel, and because it was too early, so we just started directly, but without any notice. From the next live session, definitely 1 or 2 days before only, I will tell you about that. Well, that's all for this video guys. That's all for this live session guys. Thank you for joining us. This is Ashank David signing off from Coders Arcade. Happy learning.